You're listening to Cornerstone Kids, a parenting podcast, a series about practical ways you can become the primary disciple maker of your home. Hey guys, I am Jessica and
I'm John Michael.
And we are a couple of the children's pastors here at Cornerstone, Nashville in Madison, Tennessee. And we have been in children's ministry for a while. Not experts, but absolutely love children, love families, love family ministry, and just providing resources in any way that we can for those families and for those people. And so we've talked about a few different things. Today we're going to dive into, I think, what I would consider my top 5 things that I hate hearing my children say is the word why. But as a parent, kind of reforming that word in our mind and giving us some steps as to why the why is important when you're teaching your children. So do you find your children saying why constantly? I mean,
Well, and we're hitting this. We may have new listeners or veteran listeners. I'm sure we have kids on all across the age spectrum, 0 to 5th grade. I have a 2, just now 2, and a 4.5-year-old. So the 2-year-old, he's really big on me and mine. Yes. Doesn't really ask why. He's just like, I'm doing it, and that's my son. So I don't know if that's a boy thing. But my daughter, she's 4.5, and so there is a lot of why.
Yes.
Why do we have to go to church on Sunday? Have to go to church. Come on,
Have
you're
to.
a pastor's kid.
You get to.
Why do you go to church on Sunday? Why do she does gymnastics. Why do I have to go to gymnastics? Why do I need to listen to mom and dad? All that kind of stuff. And so getting to the point where it's, we want to move beyond just because I'm telling you to, even though, yes, you need to do it because I'm telling you to, but also why we do it. Why is mommy telling you to do that thing? Why do we go to church? Why is learning numbers or letters, why is that important to you?
Yeah,
so
we're right there with you. I have my twins are 4. They're going to be 5 soon, which is completely wild. Going into kindergarten this year. So we have had why for, I feel like, the last 8 to 10 years. My son's going to be 10 this year, and my daughter is 8 next week. And so they're just getting so big, but I find for my older kids that how important it is for them to hear the reason behind why we make choices and why we make decisions as parents. And the littles, absolutely. It's like, why do we brush our teeth? We want our teeth to be strong and healthy, so we're going to brush them, before we go to bed, or we're going to do this, or why can't I have hot chocolate right before I go to bed? Well, explaining these whys. I grew up in, millennial era. I'm an elder millennial, I guess you would call me, and the because I said so thing was just huge. And it was just, there was no real why. That was just, I think, a generational thing, but it was just because I said so. So listen to your parents, bottom line, period. And so I don't think that explaining the why is like leaning into like really like a gentle parenting situation.
I'm not down for the gentle parent. I'll be honest. I'm not down for the gentle parenting.
But I think that it is understanding that our children have developing brains. Yeah. And so we want them to understand God's word, and ultimately it builds trust.
Yeah. And we'll dive into like, I don't know, the different topics or different scenarios. But there are, I'm not the gentle parenting thing. That's not really me. But I mean, because there are going to be instances where, hey, safety reasons, if mom or dad are saying no, there may not be time to break down why.
No,
so
it's a quick.
Kids need to know, hey, mom and dad say it, I'm listening. However, there is like brushing your teeth is a great one. I mean, you're at the bathroom sink, you got a little time before bed. I don't know, kid might be tired. I don't want to brush. Why do I have to do this? And it's kind of a breakdown. Hey, these are good, healthy habits. And there you have a moment to discuss the why. So, there are those times where it's like hot stove. You see the 4-year-old walking towards it to touch it. Get away from that. And you don't need to explain why. Dangerous scenario. You just gotta listen to me as mom and dad. Hey, cars are coming. Don't run in the parking lot. Why? No, we're not going to grab my hand right
Yes,
now.
yeah.
We're not breaking this down. We'll do
Yeah.
it later. So
When we get in the car, we're going to break this down.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But we'll do that. Well, some things that we wrote down for the why we need to explain things sometimes is, that it builds internal motivation for children. So it matters because even when no one's watching, they need to obey. So even when we're not there, so they are going to hear that in their mind. Oh, Mom said this because of this, and I don't want that to happen. So instead of obeying out of like a fear, which a lot of people react with, it's building internal motivation. Number 2, strengthening critical thinking. So elementary children are naturally curious. They're but this doctors say it encourages reasoning skills. There's a cause and effect, so they start to understand that, and it helps them problem solve. Yeah. And then the third one is that it reduces a power struggle between parents. Okay. So, because that's a big one. Yeah. Like that's the because I said so is a power struggle. Like sometimes, we just have that natural urge to be like, I don't care. I don't care what you said. I think I think Cora said to me the other day, I was like, hey, can you, I don't know, come sit down at the table. I need you to come sit down at the table to eat breakfast. And she was like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. And I was like, and that was like the first time that she literally said back to me. Yeah. And it wasn't in like a rude way. It was just kind of like she was stating, I don't want to do that. And I was like, I need you to do this. Yeah. We've got to get ready for school. It's time to eat breakfast. You can't go to school with, and so I found myself doing that. And she was like, fine, and then, brought her in, but reducing that power struggle is important. And then the last one, it's building trust and emotional security for the children in the future, but trust not only in us as parents, but I think because we're children's pastors, a trust that we also want to build is that trust in God and that trust in listening to the voice of the Holy Spirit and kind of seeing the world through a lens of the Holy Spirit and leading them in that way. Yeah, I think that's great. Just want me to riff off a couple of those? Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah. So the first one was internal. The first one is building internal motivation. Yeah, I think, and we were talking about this before we started filming, I think like in kids ministry or in an organization, a church as a whole, one of the big things as leaders we try to do well is download culture to our team. Like this is what we operate, this is what we say, this is how we act. It's basically like the feeling you want your team to have as people enter the room. Yeah. It's a lot of unsaid stuff. You may not have it written down. And so I believe that as parents, even though our kids may be young and they're growing and they're developing and all the things, we need to download that family culture into our children. And so like for one example, going to church. When I was growing up as a kid, that was a family culture thing that my parents downloaded into us. It didn't matter if we were at home going to our home church. We were visiting Disney World. If it was a Sunday, we were going to church. It was a family rhythm. It was a family habit that our parents instilled in us because we're going to go. And there was a lot of why, I'm sure. 5-year-old me was probably annoying my parents like crazy with why. Why are we going to church? We're at Disney. Let's go. No, we're going to church because we don't want to, like, we had 6 days to go have fun at the beach. But, hey, this is the day we're dedicating to go love God, worship Him, be around fellow believers. We want to start the week off right. We want to give God that first part of our week. And so that's what I'm trying to instill in our kids. Granted, we work here, so they got to come with us. But I often get like, it's early in the morning. Why do we have to go to church today? Hey, we're going to go because we love God. We want to go honor Him. We want to see our friends, worship with them. And so, again, it's downloading culture into your kids. Hey, with homework, hey, we're going to give our best. We're going to try our best. And you know what? Your best may be a B or a C, but you're going to do your best. I think that's a good culture point for school. And again, the whole goal is that one day
your kids may be doing things and you're not around. When they're 16, and I mean, again, I'm like, that's 12 years away. But when my daughter's 16 and she's in the car and I can't be there, like, hopefully she has the critical thinking to make the wise choice. Hopefully the family culture that we have developed within her will stick and come to the front of her mind when she's by herself.
Yeah.
And
well, that's number 2. Yeah. Critical thinking. So those reasoning skills, cause and effect. You don't want to scare a child, but sometimes I've had my children ask, why do I have to do this? And I was like, well, I mean, I want you to be a functioning adult. I want you to be a great person. Bottom line, I don't want you to do things that, if you steal, if you take this from here, you steal when you're an adult, you could go to jail. And I mean, that's a scary thing for a child to hear, but I'm like, that's the law. That's what we don't do that, and, that we follow the 10 Commandments, but also, there's some things that we don't do as a society. And so saying those things, not out of fear, but giving them an understanding of, okay, yes, so my mom is preparing me, to be a wise adult,
And that's good.
Yeah. So we want to do that. But number 3, emotional trust and, or builds trust and emotional security.
Yeah. And I think, too, like, obviously I want my kids to trust me and my wife. I want them to know that, regardless of what the day looks like mom and dad are there to support you. And sometimes supporting you means correcting you. Sometimes supporting you means putting you in timeout because, hey, we got to correct bad behavior. But also as a parent, like, I want to know, hopefully, when I'm not around, I can trust my kids and I can trust in the fact that, hey, I maybe a little trust myself as well. Like, I've done the best I can do to raise my kids, not just with family culture and the rules that we have for our house, but in a way that, like, I was a good steward. I can know, hey, God, I was a good steward of my children. I love them how you would love them. I've done my best to make sure that they have a personal relationship with you, that they're not just, like, holding on to my coattails and, like, follow me around. No, they have a deep love for you. And so, I mean, trust is kind of all around. I want them to trust me and my wife, to know that we love them and that we're not just making up rules to be mean or unfair. Right. But also, I mean, I want to know that, hey, I got full trust in my kids, that when it's time for college and they're at whatever university or whatever they're doing, like, hey, I know I can trust them. They have culture downloaded. Choices. They have a relationship with Jesus that is theirs. It's not mine, and they're going to do good. And again, too, I think also a little bit of, like, trust between you and your partner.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if we have that on there, but I mean, making sure you're on the same wavelength and in agreement with all the rules. Like, hey, this is the culture of our home. This is the rhythm of our week. This is what we deem important. This is how we punish and what we punish. So, I mean, that's kind of like a side tangent, syncing up with your spouse.
We came home the other day, and I always do this, and I didn't really understand how important it was until later. But my son had done something in the car, and I said, okay, he usually gets 30 minutes of screen time, when he gets home, and he'll be like, Alexa, set a timer.
He's earned it.
He's doing a great job, and set a timer, and so he'll be able to do that, for those 30 minutes, and but he did I can't even remember what he did, and but he did something in the car, and I was like, hey, I said, we're not gonna have our time today to do that. Well, when I walked into the house, and my husband usually gets home about 30 minutes before me, but when I walked into the house, I said, hey, babe, I was like, Atticus can't have, and I didn't make it a whole, like, scene or show. I just was kind of like, hey, he can't have this because he chose, to do this in the car. And it put him on the same, it was communication. It was just basic communication, put him on the same level so that if he saw Atticus going for it, which he usually wouldn't, but he would understand what had just happened so that we could be the team. We could be the same team for that trust, for them. And so if Atticus was like, well, Mom told me that I couldn't, and then Dad's not, going, oh, I wonder why she did that. He's like, well, what did she talk to you about in the car? There is that team mentality. So that's really important. Is just
no good cop, bad cop.
No,
we're on the same level.
No, same team. And you were saying earlier, so that when they go into the world and they make those right choices, I've already seen in my children choices that they've made because of things we've talked about in the past. And I was telling you about it earlier. We went to McKay's.
Yeah.
We love McKay's.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of books, and we were reading them in the car on the way home. Well, my daughter has this book, and she's reading through it, and my son's sitting with her, and they're, reading through it, and my son goes, Mom? And I was like, yes. And he was like, I don't think that we should read this book anymore. And this was a book in a series that we had read, and I was okay with, but this was like the 5th or 6th book, and I was like, well, this is weird. I was like, well, why? What's wrong with it? Yeah. And so he stated out loud something that we do not agree with, and I was like, oh, yeah,
can't even trust books.
I was like, yeah, we probably shouldn't read that. And I was like, I said, why is I asked the question. I was like, why is it important that we not read that?
Yeah.
Even though it's a fun book and we can overlook it. And he was like, because that's not something that God agrees with. That's not something that we believe. This is, it's sin, and that's not okay. And my heart was like, oh my goodness, like,
you can trust me.
I was just, there was a moment of like proud relief.
Well, that's really what I mean. Those are like kind of that 3 things. Like, hey, there's family culture. Yes. Hey, this is not. I know this is something that my parents have instructed or taught me not to look at or read. And then there was that critical thinking. He had that moment where
they were probably making a choice back there.
Right?
Like, should we say something to Mom, or should we keep reading?
And then he displayed that like, all right, I can trust my kid. That when there's something that breaks our culture, I can trust my kid.
Yeah.
Here's a quick one. This is again, I have a 4-year-old, so it's like whatever. The 2-year-old, he don't know what's going on. He's just again me and mine.
Cars and dinosaurs.
We're working on that. But this is I would say kid trusting adult. My daughter does gymnastics, and I think it was Thursday. It's on Thursdays, so it's a Thursday morning, like a week or 2 ago. She didn't want to go. She was like, I don't want to do it. And you know what? We pay for it. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, honestly, if you don't want to do it anymore, I'm not going to pay for it. That's fine. Yeah. I'm like, I'd have one less thing in our schedule. And so I told her, hey, we're going to go tonight. And if you don't like it, then we can be done. And I knew she was tired, like Wednesday nights, late. And so we got there. She saw like her little friends that are in her class. She had a great time. She loves her teacher, and she was done. And I was like, "Hi, did you like it? Do you want to keep?" She's like, "Yeah, I want to keep doing it." I'm like, "Okay." So that was like a thing where maybe in her 4-year-old mind, like, "Hey, Dad isn't trying to get me to do things just to do them. Right. Like he knows I like it, and he got me there." And so I don't know if she can comprehend all that. That's a little bit of a, hey, my kid hopefully understood. Like I can trust my dad. Like he has my best interest, or he knows. My little 4-year-old emotions are getting the best of me. When I got to gymnastics, when I put on my little leotard that she loves and she wears all the time, like everything transformed, and doing her flips and the bars. And so, I mean, again, little things like that, just building trust between you and your kid and you and your spouse. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah. Well, so we'll end with something that we wrote down, kind of a little formula at home that you can do with your children, but it's state the limit, give a short why, and then offer empathy if needed. In the case, I didn't state this, but in the case of that book, my daughter had picked out that book and she was so excited. So even though they decided we're not going to read this, when we got home and we literally put that book in the trash, she was just so sad. And I comforted her, and I was like, listen, we're going to go get another book. We'll go get another book. It's fine. This one cost $3 at McKay's. So offering that empathy is important, for them, but state the limit, tell this is our boundary, and then give a short why. It doesn't have to be a dissertation. It doesn't have to be this whole thing. It's just a quick, listen, this is why we do this. It's important for you to know that, and blah, 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 and I love you. And, we do that when we, discipline. This is why you got in trouble. Do you remember why you got in trouble?
Yeah.
So those things, explaining those things are important. And then offer that empathy, because you want them to come to you. You want them to run to you. And that's part of that trust. So state the limit, give a short why, offer empathy. But it's good to answer the why. So even though it's a word we dislike, it's a very good to answer that why. Well, thank you so much for listening today. We hope you enjoyed this episode and learned something new about yourself or about your kids and God's plan in our parenting. If you like this episode and want to keep up with new episodes, please hit the share and subscribe button. Also, don't forget to check out our free parenting resources that can help create peace, routines, and relationships in your home. Just visit cornerstonenashville.org/parent resources. We'll see you next time.